Hey guys, welcome back to the F Word. For the past few weeks, I've been on this journey of unpacking wealth and power. Today's guest is going to help us look at it from a different perspective. I've known Marcia Dawood for about 5 years. She's an early stage investor, TEDx speaker, podcast host, and the author of Do Good While Doing Well. She's got a new book launching in March of 2026 called Unapologetic Wealth: Rewrite Your Money Story from Any Beginning. We're going to talk about her books and her perspective on wealth, power, and investing. Let's get into it.
Who the f*** am I to tell you what to do with your money?
My name is Priya Malani, currently managing millions of hardworking dollars. Enough foreplay. Let's talk
Money.
Welcome to the F Word. Smart money.
No bull.
Marcia, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to chatting and learning more from you. I always love getting together with you and learn so much. And I want to start with a quick plug of your powerful TED Talk titled Do Good While Doing Well, which was also the title of your first book. What is Do Good While Doing Well all about?
So in 2012, I was invited to an angel investing meeting and I got to see entrepreneurs pitching their companies. And I was fascinated. I thought, where have I been? I've been working in corporate America. I think I've been living under a rock. I have absolutely no idea what is happening right now, but this is really, really cool. And I thought, well, how can I get involved? Because that's not like, I thought you had to be a billionaire, fly private planes, like have a finance degree. You have to have all this knowledge to be able to invest like this. Well, it turns out that you really don't. And in a lot of cases, if you're really passionate about what the entrepreneur is working on, in some cases it could be healthcare, climate, all kinds of different things, it's really advantageous to get involved and start to help these companies to grow. Because in order to see the innovation in the world that we want to see, we have to invest in it in some way, shape, or form. And in a lot of cases, that could be money, it could be time, it could be all kinds of things.
Yeah, and that actually tracks back to a personal story for you, if you wouldn't mind sharing one of the originating reasons why angel investing became so fascinating to you.
Back to the idea of doing good and doing well, I just was fascinated at the idea that you could do good, meaning like you could help a company or you could help get a change into the world, and you could potentially get a return, because I had always believed that it was about charity. Those were the people who were doing all the good, and that if you wanted to get a return, then you had to invest in the stock market or whatever you were investing in, real estate, whatever. And so this concept was really interesting to me because I thought, wow, I would like to do good. And by the way, I don't really know that there's a lot of charities out there that are getting the funding that they truly deserve. So while I love donating to charities and I think it's a great thing, I think they're extremely underfunded. And I think most people who work at those charities would probably agree with me. And so how do we help them to kind of get to another level? And this is a way that people could participate. But in a lot of cases, there's not a lot of awareness around it.
What did you uncover as you were spreading the word about doing good while doing well? And did it in some part lead to the idea of your second book, Unapologetic Wealth?
Yes, actually it did. So what happened was thought, okay, people don't really know about early stage investing. And as I started to learn about it over the last 14 years or so, I realized how little funding went to women, how many innovations just kind of get lost on the cutting room floor per se, because they just don't have the funding that they need in order to make it. So I thought, okay, maybe if I tried to get more awareness around this, people would be more apt to participate. So I started a podcast in 2021 called The Angel Next Door. That's going on still and has over 170 episodes. I did the TEDx talk in Charlotte in 2022. I wrote Do Good While Doing Well, thinking, okay, hey, this is like a demystifying of all this. And yet I still was kind of preaching to my own choir and talking to people who were angel investors already. And I'm like, no, I really think we should get more people involved. Let's see how many more people might want to be participants. And then when I would finally talk to people who were not participants and said, hey, you say you do want to do this, but what's holding you back? And finally, I got people to really admit the truth to me, which was, especially women have a hard time with where their money is located. Their husband does a lot of the investing. They do the philanthropy, or they don't really even have anything to do with their own finances because that's like a chore that they delegate to their husband because they're doing all the child rearing. I mean, we're 100 reasons, but it came down to I just don't feel comfortable, or I don't feel like I have enough knowledge to make investment decisions myself. And I don't even know how I'm really using my money. And the next things that would happen is you'd start to see a lot of people who were, buying the bigger house, getting the fancier car, and really never having that true alignment with their money.
So, what is the message of unapologetic wealth to those people whose mindset may be a little, would you call it stuck?
I just think there's a lot of limiting beliefs out there. And you could go back to, women couldn't even get a credit card in their own name until 1974. But even you could go back farther than that. Like, think about dowries, think about the way that men and women have been treated. It's not women's fault. It's not men's fault. It's nobody's fault. It's just how society has treated money and treated people based on gender. And if we could start to make a change with that, because now women do have opportunities that they didn't have. And again, I'm generalizing, so, bear with me here. But, women have opportunities to go to school, get PhDs, work in CEO level positions. I mean, there's lots and lots of opportunities today that, we didn't really have before, or it took a long time to get there. And I feel like if we don't actually take advantage of these opportunities, we will not only stay stuck, but we will also model that for the future generations. And that's kind of what scares me the most.
Yeah, I agree with that big time. Getting a handle on your finances is not just for you, but it benefits next gen who's modeling themselves after what they're seeing and hearing in the household. That's a lot of what we talk about with our clientele. If you had to pinpoint it, what is the one hang up? Because you're clearly talking to an audience that has the money to do good, to begin to invest. What is that one, in a single sentence, what is the hang up that people have once they have wealth?
I think they don't really align it with their values, and they don't have a true picture of their goals.
Well said. And it really all tracks back to thinking first about what your goals are, what your values are, so then you can then put your money in that direction. Yeah, most of the people listening to this podcast are in their 30s. They're ambitious, they're working hard, they want financial freedom, but at the same time, they want impact and change. And if their hard earned dollars can help with that, they're actively seeking those opportunities. So, how would you guide someone who wanted to use their wealth to do good? Where do you begin?
I think you really do begin with goal setting. Like, if I had known what I know now when I was 25, I would be so much farther ahead. I would have actually thought out and really thought about how I wanted my money to be used, to be invested, to build the future and the wealth that I really wanted. And when we talk about wealth, we're not just talking about money. We're talking about health wealth, time wealth, relationship wealth, all of these things. Sometimes you're going to buy time with your money, and sometimes you're going to buy money with your time. It just depends, right? So I've seen too often where younger people, especially, they'll get that raise, or they'll get some type of a salary increase or a bonus, and the next thing you know, they're like getting the fancier car, or they're doing something with the money because they're going on a vacation. But have they really thought about long-term planning and what that means in alignment of their goals and their values?
How do you think about goals in context of individual goals versus couple goals?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I do address that in the book. I give even scripts about like how you can talk to your partner about money, about the financial situation. This isn't like a gotcha exercise. It's certainly not something that should feel bad. I mean, it might feel a little bit strange at first to be talking about it. Women really haven't been invited to the table to talk about money in any type of situation. So sometimes it is uncomfortable to talk about it at first, but then it's like a muscle. And like once you kind of build it up, it gets a little bit easier. So I think right away if you're getting into any kind of a serious relationship, or if you're married, just having those conversations early, and you don't have to have them super often, but have the door be open to be able to have these conversations when things come up. And especially if you're in a family and you want to really align with what it is that you want to do and the type of money that you could be coming into. Let's say that at the end of the year you're going to get a bonus. Well, I would really talk about that with your partner, and however that looks, to see, what does it mean? The more we talk about it, the more it's out in the open, the easier it's going to be to make the decision, and the less animosity that would come later on down the road. If, for example, the bonus came and the one person did something with the money that the other person didn't really agree with, and the next thing you know, like, all these other problems are coming up.
That's awesome. I love that you include scripts in the book because so many people feel like they don't know where to begin the conversation. What would you say to the women, going back a little bit, that delegate their agency around their finances? How do you talk about that?
Yeah, agency is a good word, and people have asked me about that word before, but I do think agency is like, it's not really control. It's more like it's knowledge control. It's all wrapped into one. It's like how you really feel and what you believe in when it comes to your money. I certainly do not think in any way that women are bad with money, but it is something that's out there in the world that, oh, women are just bad with, like, it's like some kind of a, like a weird mantra that people think about. So I believe that women just haven't been practiced enough. So it's like some people say, oh, women are so risk averse. I don't believe that. I believe that women are risk astute, and they're actually quite good at evaluating risk, figuring out if they want to take the risk. They're very good at stretching money, budgeting, all of those types of things. But really, at the end of the day, they're risk unpracticed. So they need to just practice a little bit more. And I think that's when you'll start to see the alignment come into play. And the couple conversations can be a lot easier because both people can get out in the open what it is that they really care about, what they value, and be able to align their money with those values.
This is bringing up so many interesting questions. One that is top of mind for me is, do you address in the book, like, let's say in a heterosexual relationship, a woman who's looking to get involved, but maybe her partner is not so encouraging of that? I'm sure you've talked to women like that. I know I have. What do you say? What is your advice when they're looking to get involved in the conversation, but that interest is not welcome?
Yeah, I do have a couple examples of that in the book. When I was writing the book, I actually reached out to people and said, hey, I need some money stories. Who's got a money story? I thought maybe I'd get 3. I got like 300. So there were a lot of money stories to be told. But yeah, it is challenging at first. I think in a lot of cases, if the conversation isn't well received at first, there might be something else going on besides just money. So also something to look at. But I think approaching it delicately by saying, hey, I'm not interested in, taking this over. I really just want to be involved. I want to be able to have honest conversations. And the more open and approachable the one party is, and then I think the other party will become more open.
Don't get discouraged if it doesn't go exactly as you expected the first time. And if that's something you're looking to do, then stay involved, continue to learn, continue to bring it up. And I love that that's the message you're spreading, especially for women, is that you can learn this. You are not bad with money. I completely agree. There is a world for you to get involved in, and it's not that hard. You talk about that too. I'd love for you to say a little bit more about the fact that there is this stereotype around investing, that it requires a lot of money or that it requires a lot of knowledge. What do you say to that?
So if you go back, several years, decades, you probably did have to have a lot of money, and you did have to have quite a bit of knowledge in order to make these types of decisions. But things have really, really changed, especially over the last 10 years. The SEC has allowed for what's called equity crowdfunding. Some people may have heard of crowdfunding with like rewards crowdfunding, like Kickstarter or Indiegogo, or donation crowdfundings like GoFundMe. Equity crowdfunding, the big 3 that platforms are Start Engine Republic and WeFunder. And on those, you can really invest for as little as about $100. And actually start to play around with investing without putting a lot of money up front. And in a lot of cases, I even tell people maybe just try it with like mock money. Like you could just make your own mock portfolio, on the not necessarily on the site, but just by looking, write it down on a piece of paper. This is a great dinner table conversation also if you have children. I think it's fun, and I used to do it with my stepkids. Like we would look at the different companies and talk about like what they were doing, why we cared about what they were doing. And all of this can cost no money. So you can actually be learning, you can be teaching your kids, and all you have to do is like look up one of these equity crowdfunding sites and just look around.
So we talked to our 30 something Henrys, high earners, not rich yet. We talked to this clientele about passive, diversified investing. What do you call this type of investing, and when do you suggest someone begin with this lane of investing?
So it's definitely passive, and in a lot of cases, it's not liquid. So early stage investing, private investing of any kind, the liquidity is not the same as the public markets. You cannot go onto a site like E-Trade and trade it in 30 seconds like you could for public stocks. So it is very important that you diversify your portfolio, your entire portfolio, with what you need as far as liquidity and then what you need as far as long-term gains, or what you're looking for long-term gains. And I also think that when you're talking about something like early stage investing, that's an asset class. Just like real estate investing is an asset class, buying art is an asset class. All of these things are different asset classes. I also encourage people, and I talk about this in the book, I list a lot of different asset classes in the book and say, hey, you should at least know that they exist. It's literally on 2 pages in the book. Like that's all you'd have to read, 2 pages, right? And then you could see, hey, wait a minute, real estate investing. That's kind of interesting to me. Maybe I would want to take a look at and get more involved, or at least learn more about that. Maybe that's something I'd like in my portfolio long term. And maybe that isn't something that I can afford right now, but maybe it's something that I could afford down the road. All of these types of things are just know about them. Learn a little bit about them. Commodities trading. I knew nothing about this before, and I'm not saying I trade commodities now, but I didn't even know it existed. So it's good to like even know that that's something that you could participate in. And then you start to figure out your risk tolerances, your how much you want to learn, how actively you want to get involved. In a lot of cases, though, like private investing is more passive.
So back to your book, which is launching in the next several weeks, right?
Yeah. Hold it up.
Yes, Unapologetic Wealth. March 31st, Unapologetic Wealth comes out. You talk about rewriting your money story from any beginning. For someone who didn't grow up around wealth, what narrative do you think they need to unlearn first?
Well, one of the first exercises in the book, and there's not a ton of exercise. Some people are exercise people. They want like a whole workbook on exercises to do. But this has a couple. And in the beginning, I really encourage people to think about their money timeline. And that could really go back all the way to the time you were born. What is it that how did you develop a relationship with money? Did you watch your parents fight about it? Did you have a lot of scarcity in your household when you were growing up? Without even knowing it, they can form your mindset around money. And in a lot of cases, it's then hard to get out of that mindset if you don't even realize that that's the mindset that you have. So, in a lot of cases, what I'm trying to do is just shine a light on it. There isn't really anything in the book about financial advice. I'm not going to tell you go invest in this or that. It's more about how do we actually think about our money? How do we think about wealth in general? What is it that we truly, truly care about? And in some cases, holding up this mirror to ourselves can be hard. We have to really think about, do I care about time, relationships, my health, money, all of these things, and at what level? And then once we kind of figure out what is it that we truly value, then we can start to look at how are we going to align that with our money in order to make it happen.
Yeah, and the powerful part of that message is that you can unlearn your money habits and narratives. And scarcity is the one that comes up a lot, big time. I talk about it in my own journey. My father was a physician, solid 6-figure income, and yet
you can actually grow up in a household that is, by all means, wealthy, but still have a ton of scarcity around money. So having awareness and then challenging where you want your money to take you can help you start to understand which narratives will serve you in that journey, and how to relearn or unlearn and then learn a more constructive narrative. Yeah, it seems like Unapologetic Wealth, everyone needs to buy it. It's for the exact people that I'm speaking to who have maybe yet to reach a certain life stage that will eventually arrive. So for these young 30 somethings who are just kicking into their six-figure income, what is something about the message, your message, what seed do you want to plant for them right now?
It is about mindset. And in a lot of cases, we all are carrying around some type of either limiting belief or something that has to do with money that could be holding us back. It's either making us feel guilty. In a lot of cases for women, it's making them play small, meaning they're not asking for the raise, they're not asking for the promotion, they're not asking for more money if they're a contractor type of thing. And the biggest message here is that this is not our fault. Okay, this is actually something that has been kind of ingrained in our brain. And if you bear with me here for 1 second, I actually have this tiny passage I'm going to read from the book, if that's okay. It is so clear when you hear the story how our brains are wired, and it has to do with DNA. So I was reading a book called Deeper Than Money by Chloe Elise, and I was reminded of a study conducted by researchers at Emory University. And in the experiment, mice were exposed to the scent of cherry blossoms while receiving mild electric shocks to their feet. Over time, the mice began to associate the scent of cherry blossoms with pain and fear. Eventually, the shock was no longer necessary and the scent alone triggered anxiety. Now, we've heard about this before, like Pavlov's dog, right? But here's where it gets interesting. The offspring of those mice that were never shocked themselves also showed signs of fear when exposed to the cherry blossom scent. And they inherited the fear response to something they had never personally experienced. And it didn't stop there. The grandchildren of the original mice, 2 generations removed from the initial trauma, still responded to fear with no shocks. So think about the times that money was scarce in families, the times that parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, that this is passed down not just from our observations. This is actually passed down in our DNA. We have a lot to unpack here, right? And I think for a lot of people, they're just like, go, go, go. They're really ambitious. They're out there to get, the next big raise, the next bonus, the next this, that, or the other thing. But if we really stop, especially at a younger age, and think about what is it that I really care about and where do I want to be 10 years from now, 20 years from now? It's kind of easy to say, hey, let me see what I can do in a year or maybe 2 years. But where do you truly want to be in 10 years? Because 10 years actually does go a lot faster than you think. And then you want to start to really align that. But you have to do the hard work first of really looking at it and saying, well, where are my beliefs and what is holding me back?
That is insanely powerful and goes to show the importance of doing the work now. You don't want to pass that on to future generations. My gosh. Well, this next question is a tough one to ask you because you're barely out of your 30s. You had to look back and give some money advice to your 30-year-old self. What would it be?
I think it would be really cool to learn about and know about private investing at a much younger age, because even by the time I did have some money to invest at that level, I really didn't know anything about it. So if I were younger and had learned and had even understood what entrepreneurship was and all of the innovation that was happening kind of all behind the scenes that nobody really sees. In a lot of cases, people think, oh, a big corporation, like, some of these really, really big companies, they're going to be the ones doing all the innovating. But that's really not true. So in a lot of cases, it's these smaller companies. Somebody has an idea just because it was so terribly painful for them to try to solve the problem on their own and they couldn't do it. So they just decided to start a company. I hear that story all the time with entrepreneurs. And that's wonderful. But if I had known that at a younger age and I had really learned about it and just started following along and seeing what people were doing, I think I would have had a much different perspective than when I did have some more money that I could invest.
just simply seeking out and understanding the entire landscape. You're an incredible support to entrepreneurs, even outside of your investing. And the amount of advice and guidance that you've provided to me in my journey with Stash Wealth is so tremendous. You are truly a gem in terms of your desire to help. And I wish there were more people like you in this world. I am so grateful. Switching gears a little bit, Marcia, we always end this show with a segment that I call Best Bite. I'm a huge foodie. What is something that you've eaten recently, maybe when you were up here visiting, or maybe something in Charlotte that you kind of just blew you away and you'd say, Priya, you need to go here and you need to order this?
I would have to say that I had some really, really incredible sashimi the other day, and it was here in Charlotte, which was kind of surprising. Sorry, Charlotte. But sometimes you think you have to go to like super fancy places in New York City. But yeah, we had a really interesting and lovely Valentine's dinner at Hastia here in Charlotte. So it's great.
Okay. Hastia.
Mhm.
I have
It's
not
new.
heard of that.
Mhm.
Oh, it's new. Okay. Okay. I felt like I made
Newer.
my way through the sushi sashimi scene in Charlotte. So I haven't heard of this one. So I've got to add it to my list. Thank you. That's a great recommendation. Finally, Marcia, where can people find you, follow you? Please give us your handles. Tell us where we can stay in touch with your journey.
Yeah, well, fortunately, there's not a whole lot of people in the world named Marcia Dawood. So you can find me at all the handles just with my name. And of course, the URL, www.marciadawood.com. And actually, if your listeners want to get a free chapter of the book, Unapologetic Wealth, which isn't even out yet, you can go to my website and download the free chapter. You can also get a free chapter of Do Good While Doing Well, too.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. And is it available yet for pre-order on Amazon?
Yes, it's available for pre-order everywhere and anywhere that you buy books.
Beautiful. We'll drop those links into the show notes. Marcia, thank you so much for being here and touching on a topic that really doesn't get as much airtime as it deserves. So thank you so much.
It doesn't. I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. I hope to everyone listening that this has you thinking just a little bit differently about investing or reconsidering your relationship with your own agency as your wealth builds. If you have a second and you think of someone who might enjoy the episode, please consider sharing it. It's the best way to help others find the show. And if you have a sec, more than a sec, we'd really appreciate you leaving us a review so we can learn what's resonating and what's not and continue to grow and do better. As always, like, subscribe, and follow us wherever you're listening. And that way you'll be up to date on future episodes. All right. Thanks so much for listening. See you next time.
Thanks for listening to The F Word with Priya Malani. If you like what you heard, hit subscribe wherever you're listening and leave us a review while you're at it. We're approval junkies. Don't forget, you can find a ton of great resources, content, courses, and other freebies at stashwealth.com. Now, for the capital S stuff our lawyers want us to say. Stash Wealth is a registered investment advisor. Content presented is for informational and educational purposes only and is not intended to make an offer or solicitation for any specific securities, product, service, or strategy. Consult with a qualified investment advisor, that's us, before implementing any strategy. Investing involves risk, including the loss of principal. Past performance does not guarantee future results. There, we said it.
Did I have that up?